This class will deal with personal networking. Now, networking seems to follow the principle it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. That's a principle often cited in organizations, and it seems to indicate that the way to get jobs done or to get issues resolved is to know people rather than doing it yourself or what you know. It's knowing the right people. So what we want to do is to explore the importance of this type of networking within organizations. Networking is about communication between formal and informal groups of people who share a common interest. So it's about communications, it's about linkages between different groups of people within the organization. It's the way that people interact, the way they know each other and the way they communicate. It's whether it's formal or informal. It's having knowledge of each other and knowledge of their skills and their capabilities and having them in a sense as friends so that they can cooperate in times of need. So it's making contacts. That's what the subject matter is about. It's making contacts with people and getting to know them. They may be useful in the sense of helping to develop contracts or sales or facilitate some part of the working situation. And in a sense, this type of networking is designed around this. This is how it happens. And this is the raison d'etre for this type of networking. It's not that people are building up personal relationships, they're building up professional relationships. The principle of networking is to form a connection between individuals in order to advance business or career prospects. So it's contact with a purpose. Contact so that candidates for jobs may be contacted in advance and that feedback to the organization about potential employees or potential managers or even indeed about potential contracts that may be coming up in the future. So it's dealing informally, but it's dealing through a whole system of contacts that have been built up, which have been built up almost from a social setting, perhaps from a company meal or a company function or through a seminar or some sort of conference. People make contact with each other, they exchange business cards, and the purpose really is so they get to know each other, and at some future date that contact may be useful in facilitating something. Now, the importance of networking. Well, networking has many benefits for students and graduates. Since we're here talking about mostly students and undergraduates and postgraduates, then networking is very important to this group of people. In fact, it's very important in business in total, at all levels of business. In fact, it runs almost through society. It's useful to different groupings in society, but it's also useful for students and for graduates. It provides opportunities for individuals to gain a better understanding of what their ideal jobs entail. So knowing somebody who works in the area is a big benefit, because the person who works in the area can then provide information, say, to a potential employee about exactly what happens in the workplace, what's expected and what hours of work and what's the culture within the workplace and what's the degree of formality and what are the tasks and so on. So it's an opportunity to get a behind the scene expose of what is happening. It's someone on the inside informing a potential entrant. So students, for example, may have a colleague who gets a job in a particular company, and that person who's now working for the company may be able to feed back information about the company, about the terms and conditions, about the conditions of employment, about the tasks, about the functions required, the skills that are ideally suited to the work, and so on. So it's networking. It's enabling information to flow back. Building strong relations with other contacts can provide opportunities to gain paid or unpaid work experience. Shadowing or mentoring and employment prospects are also very important. So sometimes students may take up employment within an organization with no salary. It's a commitment they've made to the organization for a limited period, so that both sides get to know each other. They get to know the suitability of the person in that particular role. And likewise, the student or the person in the role will then get to know the organization and what's required and the type of culture and the extent to which they want to work for that organization. So situations like shadowing, in other words, working in the organization but having no real responsibility, but helping out and working alongside an experienced member of the organization, will give the student an insight into what's happening. And mentoring is when they have been formally allocated to a member of staff, and the member of staff is teaching them about the job and about the requirements in work. So this is all a type of getting to know each other, and it may start from very informal contacts, perhaps just simply a recruitment fair at a local university or college, where employers go and speak to the students, and the students may then apply for roles within the organization, and they have to try and measure each other. The organization has to see if the students are suitable, and the students have to see if the employers are suitable, or that type of work is suitable for them. Networking has many benefits for students and graduates. Your contacts can help you look for work, suggest appropriate vacancies and recruitment agencies, help you improve your CV, or provide interview tips. So having someone who's been through it is very useful, and you as an applicant, let's say, you would benefit from having this insider, someone who's been there, who's gone through the process of interviews, and who has prepared a CV, a curriculum vitae, who has looked at different types of work and different types of occupations and tried to match his or her skills with what was available in the market. That sort of contact is very, very useful, and ideally students and graduates and so on should try to cultivate their colleagues and the wider contacts that they have made to try and get that insight. Contacts within an organization are also very useful. They can provide information about the organization, about the job role, the company culture, and recent company affairs. So if it's possible to know someone within the company to which you're applying, that's even better, because that person can then provide information about the way the company is run, the organization of the business, the conditions of employment, about the tasks that they're undertaken, and it can give a real insight into the position before even the application is made. Now, the types of networking, well, face-to-face is probably the most popular form of networking. This type of networking is about jumping right in and making contact by liaising with other individuals. Imagine at or say a recruitment fair at a local college or a local university, employers may turn up to try and recruit good graduates or good diplomats from different courses. Go talk to the employer face to face and explain who you are, what you're interested in, what you're good at, what you've achieved, and see what they have to offer. It's face-to-face contact. It's the most direct form of networking. This type of networking is beneficial as it allows the development of mutual relationships. So both sides can weigh each other up. They can get first impressions. They can talk and try to get a quick impression of the other person to see if they're suited, if they can work together, if they can get along. There is more opportunity to discuss and share common interests because it's a very flexible form of contact. The one person is able to ask questions of the other, and they're able to judge their body language. How are they responding to them? Are they making eye contact? If are they smiling? And what's the sense that the applicant is getting from the contact? Could be electronic type of contacts as well. This form consists of developing your network through multimedia and electronic media of all sorts, such as online networking sites, email, chat rooms, online bulletin boards. There are a whole variety of these that we can envisage. And nowadays, it's very popular for applicants to have their CV online. So their CV is a very polished piece of work that's been professionally looked at, has been looked at by friends and colleagues and recommendations, and there may have been many drafts of the CV before it got into the final stage, and then it was put online so that employers may see it and recruit from there. Electronic networking is beneficial when aiming to communicate to people that are beyond your reach, allowing you to contact with people from different backgrounds, cultures and interests. It's a very efficient form of making yourself known, going through online publishing the CV and placing yourself in front of potential employers. And there are many platforms for doing it. It could be just Facebook, or it could be LinkedIn. But there are many different approaches to getting your CV noticed and getting a response from potential employers. Now, networking skills, well, Misner and Morgan, 2000, identify a set of skills and characteristics that they believe promote the success of a networker. So they attempted to identify appropriate skills to promote the networker. For example, honesty. Maintaining your integrity is vital when networking. It's very easy to be swayed by others, like-minded individuals or competitors, but trying to keep your integrity, try and stick to what you are. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't exaggerate your skills. Don't exaggerate your achievements. Be honest, and that honesty, they believe, will show through. And employers and people who read your CV and look at the information you're placing about yourself, perhaps online, that will come through. But honesty also pervades the more face-to-face contact and runs right throughout that phase of face-to-face. If you are trying to be so-called economical with the truth, as politicians sometimes say, if you are exaggerating something or playing down something, the chances are the person you're speaking to will know you're doing it, and therefore the chances of you getting a successful outcome are reduced. It's best to be honest and state your ambitions and interests, but also honestly state your achievements, your strengths and your weaknesses, so the person to whom you're speaking has a fair and accurate picture of you. Salesmanship. The ability to effectively sell yourself or advertise your interests. In a sense, through this contact, through this type of networking, we are in a sense selling ourselves. We're marketing ourselves. We are saying that we are capable of adding value to an organization who wishes to employ us. We are capable of working hard and making a valuable contribution. We are in a sense selling ourselves. We are selling our abilities and our capabilities, our competencies, and we're talking about our flexibility, what we can do, what we can learn, what we will contribute, how easy it is to work with this. We're sociable, we're fast learners, and so on. So we are promoting ourselves, but we're doing it in a very subtle manner. We're not shoving it into the other person's face. We are doing it gently. Negotiations. Well, the ability to influence others' views or opinions in order to achieve your goals. It's important to not only to speak, but to listen. Understand the other person, what they want, and see if that is in line with your capability and your interests. And if it is, present the argument. It's similar to negotiations. It may not be exactly what you want, but you are prepared, in a sense, to compromise. You're prepared to negotiate. You're prepared to acquire those extra skills or work under certain conditions. You are prepared to be flexible. And that's important. Communications. Well, this skill is extremely important. Without communication skills, you will struggle to convey your goals and objectives. It's essential to have good spoken English, for example, or good spoken native tongue, whatever that is. It's important to have good written skills, good grammar. It's important to have confidence in what you say you know, and you can speak fluently about it. It's important to know that you're up to date with current thinking and you're familiar with debates and issues within the industry and also within some particular, perhaps academic area that's relevant. So you are able to communicate confidently without thinking, without mixing it up, without making silly mistakes or mixing up people and situations. It's important to have good communication skills. Indeed, it's important to have a good memory and make sure that you know the names of the people to whom you're speaking and be able to refer to them with respect. So again, integrating that, in a sense, very local knowledge, the knowledge of the people you're speaking to, their names, and integrating it with respect, giving them their title, and at the same time talking about the particular industry or product or linking that to some aspect of your studies. That is important. Communication skills are extremely important. Adaptability. Being able to adapt to different situations or different cultures will benefit when it comes to developing trust amongst your networks. It's important to be able to be flexible. Go into the situation knowing that it's all to do with compromise. The chances of you getting exactly what you want are very remote. So it's a question of making some compromises. Of course, the question is, how much compromise can you make, or are you willing to make? The more you're prepared to compromise, the better the chances are you have of landing the job. If you find it difficult to compromise, it might be a situation of conflict or disagreement, and there's no point in doing this in a networking situation. There's no point in trying to make contacts and develop professional relationships within meetings, within networking situations, whilst at the same time alienating the person you're speaking to. So adaptability is very important. Being flexible, being capable of integrating requirements that perhaps you hadn't anticipated. So try to see those as opportunities to learn and to develop new skills rather than problems that you're going to confront and new ways of working and new techniques that are required, and it seems like a lot of trouble. So instead of thinking of it as a lot of trouble, think of it instead as opportunities to learn. So adaptability is important. Resourcefulness is also important. As a networker, being the one with the solution encourages trust and reliability amongst your networks. So looking at situations and looking at problems, or perhaps whilst networking, discussing perhaps some issue that some company has encountered, if it's possible, just to be resourceful and think laterally and think of solutions and show interest in the problem. You may not solve the problem just by standing there and talking for the first time, but at least you're showing interest and you're showing an ability to think about issues. So if the person to whom you're speaking starts to talk about a problem they had at work recently, then don't definitively say here is the answer, because it may not be, you don't know the circumstances, but just run across various alternatives and talk about what they did and how the solution worked. You are showing interest. You are motivated. So it facilitates the whole networking activity. They will be interested in you because you are interested in them. Confidence. Confidence is key. Without confidence, you will struggle to develop your network. It's important to have the ability to walk up to a stranger in a networking situation and introduce yourself, and then speak openly and with confidence and with good communication skills and resourcefulness and all of that, all of the things we talked about, being able to not take a long time with the person and try to monopolize that person. They will want to speak to other people as well, but just enough so that they have an interest in you. So confidence is very important, and they will understand a confident person. They will understand that you are a person who may be capable of making a valuable contribution within their organization, because you can work in a variety of situations and you're confident to take on challenges. They will respond to that. So getting started, well, there are many methods that can be used to start building your networks and opportunities to meet new people. So there are many different approaches that can be used. For example, try to become a speaker at a conference or an event. Take part in a conference in your specialist field. Try to develop some expertise and something which shows off a range of abilities, and make every effort to facilitate the message. So for example, if you're doing a talk, then give out handouts at the end. Give notes to the people participating so that they have a summary of what you said. Also, they've got something to take away with your name and details on it. So you are reinforcing your presence. Try to become somebody in the student union, the treasurer or the sports officer or whatever, the president, whatever it is. Publish an article in a local magazine or a local paper on some aspect of business. Perhaps you would want to, as a student, start to keep a database related to certain industries, about companies in the industry, how well they're doing, who's the chairperson, what mergers have happened, where they're selling their product, the type of products they're selling, the prices, the competition, the issues they're confronting, globalization, technology. Just keep a database of many different points related to a particular industry. so that at the end you are very knowledgeable about that industry, and it will show through. And the chances are you have a better chance of getting a good position within that industry because you are coming with a lot of previous knowledge of the industry. So become a speaker at a conference, or publish something, or maintain a database in a sense of companies or industries that interest you. Just go to newspapers, buy a newspaper every now and again. If there's an article about it, cut it out. Keep it in a scrapbook. Keep notes. Make sure you follow up on anything you can about particular companies or industries so that you become quite knowledgeable of that area, about that area. As I said, become an author if possible. Write articles, newsletters, online blogs, e-newsletters. Nowadays it's easier and easier to get published because of the online phenomenon. Join blogs that are related to particular companies or particular products or particular industries, and make contributions, and make sure you have your contributions criticized by colleagues and family and friends before you publish them, just in case you've gone too far, you've said too much, or your language is not appropriate, or you may alienate people. Make sure everything has been checked in advance. Don't do anything spontaneously. Think about everything. Perhaps write the article today and publish it online in a week's time, during which time you've spoken to colleagues and friends and they've read drafts of it and made improvements and criticisms. Then publish it, and continue to do this, so you are building up a reputation within that area. There's also speed networking, arrange events where like-minded individuals have the opportunity to meet people and exchange business cards and contact details. These are quite popular events. Sometimes they happen in at lunchtime or at breakfast time, breakfast meetings. It's just a question of going to the person, saying who you are, having a few words about the product and what you're doing, and exchanging a business card. Make sure you've got a business card that looks professional. It has to be a very professional design, and give the card to the person with your contact details. And that's it. Leave it at that and see if they contact you back. A lot will not contact you back because they have got many cards and limited time. But some may contact you back. So it's important at least to have the chance and be there. Now, maintaining your networks. Well, maintaining contacts is vital. First step is to build a network, but it's important to nurture the contacts. It's important to maintain contacts. Have follow-up contacts. When you speak to people, make sure that you get their details and you can follow up on any issues that you've spoken about. Let's look at some of the ways in which you can nurture your contacts. So we're going to talk about nurturing contacts, making sure that the contacts are maintained and that your name is being refreshed in terms of the contacts you've made in the past. Well, the first one is keep in touch. Always make an effort to keep in touch with your networks. Sending relevant emails, exchanging telephone numbers, and making efforts to go out for lunch if that's required or if that is proposed. Make sure if you're sending emails that they are relevant and they are linked to something which justifies the email. Otherwise, the emails may be seen as annoying, that you are spamming people, and they will get annoyed and will be not supportive of you. Quite the opposite. They will be quite annoyed by you. So make sure any contacts are ones which are warranted, which are justified in the context of previous meetings or previous contexts. Share your contacts. Share your contacts with other people in the social circle. The more people that know about your contacts, you will get to know their contacts, and that widens it out. It's very similar to Google Circles, where you know some people, you share those people with your friends, they share their friends, so now you have a much bigger circle, and it keeps on rippling outwards. So your name is becoming increasingly established within wider and wider circles. Take initiative. Let your acquaintances know how you can help them. Always make sure that you have managed to state what you're capable of doing, your achievements, your particular skills, and what you're currently working on. Always make sure you have a current project that is engaging you, and of course which will be relevant and of interest to the people you're talking to. Share information. Pass useful information to your network. Let them know that you share a common interest. So if they're working on something or working in a particular area or have a particular interest and it relates to what you're doing, talk about what you're currently doing and what you're hoping to get out of it and how you're going about it and what problems you've encountered, and also any solutions to problems that you've found. And so you are working online perhaps with a lot of people, and your name will be promoted and mentioned as a consequence of this. Socializing is very important. Attend events if you're invited, and try to understand what is going on within that social community. Within a given industry, for example, there might be an annual dinner that's taking place. You may not have an invitation to the dinner, but you may know that the key speaker is going to talk about certain issues, or the paper delivered by the key speaker after dinner was published online. And here's an opportunity for you to make comments. Not necessarily out and out criticisms, but reasonable comments, and add to any points and talk about particular ideas and papers that are published that relate to what was said. So you're getting your name established amongst that community. And of course, social media. Keep your social media up to date. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. Make sure that people who have added you in these areas will know what you're currently doing. But have a modesty about your presentations. Make sure that they don't see you as arrogant or as very assertive. Make sure that they see you as a nice person, an interesting person. And to that end, it might be worth having friends and family moderate what you're about to publish. Get your friends and family to look at what you're about to put online and ask them for their comments and recommendations. And take their comments and recommendations seriously, because they may moderate what you're about to put online. If you don't, you may publish material online which is not helpful to you or to your networking activities. So these are some ideas about personal networking. It is important within business. It's used extensively within business, and different industries and different parts of the business community offer functions, breakfast functions, lunching functions, evening dinners, social contacts, lectures. They do all sorts of activities, and I suppose underpinning a lot of that is their desire to understand exactly what's going on, the latest thinking in business, and see how it's relevant to them and how they can adopt and benefit from these proposals. And if you can be seen as someone who understands what's going on and what is current thinking within that particular sector, then you will be a desired employee. But that's all we're going to deal with here. There's the source I mentioned earlier on. So let's leave it at that for the moment and say thank you for watching.